John. How are you?
Nice to see you.
Hey, Eugenia.
Leonora, Orieta,
Hello.
Valentina, John, Franco. Ciao, Franco. Hello, Jeremy. Dear Gwen. Diego. Welcome. Sarah, Philippe, Marco, Barry, Giovanna, Cantarella. Ciao.
Hello, ciao Eugenia.
Marianne,
Ciao.
Josef, hello, Erini, Shirley, oh my dear, wonderful, Beta, hi,
Hello,
and Alan, hello Alan, Erennio, nice to see you, ciao Erennio, welcome to everybody, and I would like to welcome this second online session. It's a great pleasure for me to see all your loving faces, and hi Stan, Adi, well, I'm very happy that you are here with us again in this second online session. No? No? Everybody's hearing? Yes? Okay. So I am happy that you are here with us. And so we shall begin with our second online session. And as you know from the program, we are having two wonderful presentations. The first one with the presentation of Marco Fantini, Erennio, Natale, and our dear Franco Fussi. And the second one from Josef, Schloemicher-Thier. And also we are having an honorary member 2019, our dear Richard Stasny from Houston. And we all celebrate the presence from the Familia Schindler and our dear Oscar Schindler. So let's begin our second online and welcome everybody and all our guests also very welcome.
Hello everyone. It's a real honor for me to be here today presenting at this online CoMeT academic session. My name is Marco Fantini. I'm a medical doctor, otolaryngologist from Italy, and my principal interests are clinical and artistic vocology and phonosurgery. First of all, let me thank you all for welcoming me as a new CoMeT member. It's really exciting for me to be part of the CoMeT family, and I must confess I'm a bit afraid of presenting in front of such great voice scientists from all over the world. But anyway, I will do my best. I would like to give a special thank to President Eugenia Chavez and Professor Franco Fussi for supporting my application to CoMeT. My presentation today is titled Immediate Effects of a Vocal Warm-up in Singers with Vocal Fill, a preliminary study on the semi-occluded bubble mask technique. This study was conducted by me, Professor Franco Fussi, and Erennio Natale. And these are my financial disclosures. As we know, in the last years, several studies about semi-occluded vocal tract exercises have been published. One of the most recent SOVT techniques is represented by the semi-occluded ventilation mask technique, which was proposed in the late 90s by Alfonso Barragan in Spain. In Italy, Professor Franco Fussi developed a warm-up protocol for professional singers performed with the SOVM technique. Beginning from these assumptions, my idea was to combine the semi-occluded ventilation mask technique with an important principle of vocal hygiene, which is the surface hydration. I took part in this project, which was conducted in the I3P incubator of the Polytechnic University of Turin, and a device to perform every type of SOVT combined with a surface vocal fold hydration system, was developed in order to give the possibility of an ergonomic, safe, and efficient vocal training and warm-up. The name of the device is Vocal Fill, and this is how it works. During inhalation, the air passes through a humidifier filter with a wet gauze, providing surface hydration for vocal folds. During phonation, a unidirectional valvular system determines an increase of impedance in the vocal tract, determining a semi-occlusion. Vocal fill can be used in a steady mode with a steady impedance, classical semi-occluded ventilation mask technique, as you can see on the left. Or it can be used in a fluctuating mode with a fluctuating impedance in the so-called bubble mask technique, as you can see on the right.
People mute their computers, please.
So, the objective of the present study was to investigate the immediate effects of the semi-occluded bubble mask technique in a group of professional singers, both classical and contemporary commercial singers, through acoustic voice quality analysis, jitter, shimmer, noise to harmonic ratio, and singing power ratio, through self-assessments, 4 questions about voice quality and vocal emission comfort, and through aerodynamic inspiratory parameters, which were the peak of nasal inspiratory flow and peak of oral inspiratory flow. 44 professional singers were randomly divided into 2 groups on recruitment, an experimental group and a control group. The same warm-up exercise was performed by the experimental group with the semi-occluded bubble mask technique and by the control group without the SOBM. Voices were recorded before and after the exercise, and acoustic, aerodynamic, and self-assessment analysis were accomplished. Here you can see the workflow of our study. First of all, the aerodynamic measurements were accomplished. Then each singer's voice was recorded while performing an a cappella passage and a sustained A vowel. After that, each singer performed the same warm-up protocol. While the control group didn't use any kind of semi-occlusion, the experimental group used vocal fill with the bubble mask technique. After the warm-up, aerodynamic measurements and voice recordings were repeated. This is the experimental setting of our study. The aerodynamic measurements were performed through an inspiratory flow meter, as you can see on the left. Voice recordings were performed in standard conditions using a Samsung Meteormic condenser USB microphone. Voice analysis were conducted with Pratt. On the right, you can see the warm-up protocol by Franco Fussi, consisting of 5 sustained vowels, 5 ascending and descending glissandos on the 5 vowels, and the passage of a song. These are the results of our study concerning the acoustic analysis. As you can see in the experimental group, significant variations were recorded for jitter, shimmer, and noise to harmonic ratio. No significant variation was found for singing power ratio. Concerning aerodynamic analysis, both peak of nasal inspiratory flow and peak of oral inspiratory flow showed significant increase in the experimental group. When comparing experimental and control group, jitter, shimmer, and noise to harmonic ratio confirmed a significant variation for the experimental group. The variation of singing power ratio, on the contrary, was not significant. In our opinion, this is not surprising, since fluctuating SOVT exercises usually have little impact on sound projection. Concerning aerodynamic analysis, when comparing experimental and control group, only the peak of oral inspiratory flow confirmed a significant variation. This aspect is quite interesting in our opinion, since the oral inspiratory flow is the most important for singers. In fact, when performing, breathing takes place with an oral modality. Looking at self-assessment results, we can see that significant differences between the experimental and control group were achieved for 3 over 4 questions concerning vocal emission comfort, the sensation of sound quality, and harmonic richness of the voice. In conclusion, the SOVT warm-up performed with the bubble mask technique revealed an immediate improvement of voice quality concerning some perturbation parameters, jitter, shimmer, and noise to harmonic ratio, and a significant improvement in oral inspiratory flow parameters. Self-assessments showed an immediate significant increase in phonation comfort and sound quality perception for the experimental group. SOVT exercises with the bubble mask technique may have positive vocal training and vocal warm-up effects in professional singers, both concerning voice quality and breathing parameters. I would like to thank all the colleagues and the singers who took part in this project, and thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, dear Marco, Erennio, and of course, Franco. And I have a message from Franco because he says, hello to everybody, I am in Rome in a room of RAI. As you know, RAI is the Italian television. Because we are recording a program that will be broadcast every Tuesday, in which we will talk about the voice in all its communication aspects. Franco says, I am away from for this hour to be with you, to share the work we did on CoMeT with Marco and Erennio, but above all, to remember the one who for me was my main teacher and a great friend, Oskar Schindler. We embraced Oskar Schindler. The program that Franco is making now is a program about the voice in all its aspects. Its use in politics, singing, sports, love, acting, work. I am present with a column, and I will certainly also talk about everybody here in CoMeT. They are 10 episodes. I would like to ask Marco a small comment. We only have 5 minutes for the discussion. And what does he think, working with this bubble mask, which is the difference with another kind of warm-up exercises, Marco?
You mean, which is the main difference between the bubble mask and the other SOVT techniques?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think mainly the main difference is that with the bubble mask, you can have the possibility of a semi-occlusion, a fluctuating semi-occlusion with the possibility of articulating words while warm-upping or training. And you also have the possibility of humidification of the inhaled air, so that you can have both a surface hydration while warm-upping, and the effect of the semi-occlusion. And you can also choose which kind of semi-occlusion to apply. You can have the static impedance, the steady impedance, and the fluctuating impedance. So you can also perform a training or a warm-up combining the two types of impedances.
If somebody from the audience has another question or comment,
Yes.
Please stand.
So thank you for your talk, very interesting. We know that the jitter and the shimmer and the noise to harmonics ratio and the singing power ratio, they all change as we change F0 and SPL. So I was wondering, at what F0 and SPL have you made these comparisons, or across what range of F0 and SPL have you made these comparisons? Thank you.
Yeah, the F0 was comfortable F0, so comfortable pitch and comfortable SPL for every singer at the beginning. And then we ask the singers to maintain the same F0 after the warm-up, so that we didn't have differences in frequency, while the SPL was controlled with an accelerometer, so that we compared the SPL before and after. There were no significant differences. So we can state that both frequency and SPL didn't have a significant influence on the parameters we tested. But as you saw in the presentation, only some perturbation parameters had a significant improvement, while the SPR, the singing power ratio, didn't improve. We think that this may be linked to the fact that fluctuating impedance usually doesn't have a big influence on the sound projections of the voice. We did another study with a steady application of the mask, so with the Boragan mask, and in that case we had a significant improvement of the singing power ratio. So we can say that with the steady mode we had an improvement of the SPR, while with the fluctuating mode we didn't have an improvement, but we had an improvement in the comfort of phonation reported by the singers, and some perturbation parameters.
Thank you very much. We have time for one other question or comment. Yes, John?
Thank you, Erennio. Very nice presentation, Marco. Just a little comment. Recently, I've been wearing a half respirator. I've been fit for it, and it has quite a good seal on my face, and it's quite difficult to speak to my patients actually while I'm doing it. But when I take the respirator off, I noticed that the power of my voice and the ease of speech is substantially improved. And I just wonder if it might be interesting to compare your SOFTA technique with a half respirator with nothing else, to see if it's actually the action of talking against the pressure of working against power of that sort that is actually making the difference.
Yeah, it could be absolutely interesting as to compare. You had a respirator with, so you didn't vocalize in it?
I did. I wear a respirator on my face. It sits like this, and it has two filters on either side of it. And it stops air really from coming in. If I were to breathe in, it actually stops any air from coming in externally. So it's quite a bit of pressure, and I suspect that I lose a lot of higher frequencies and probably about 10 dB of volume, of power. But I think it might be interesting to compare the two and to see if it's actually the act of working against this kind of pressure that's causing the effect.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, so what I think also now that we are using the masks for the protection against SARS-CoV-2, I have been using all kind of masks, and all of them, of course, are affecting the voice. And sometimes I am like my patients in the same voice. Thank you very much for the discussion. It was a wonderful presentation, Marco, Erennio, Franco. Thank you very, very much. So we keep on with our next presentation.
Hello, friends of CoMeT. I'm very pleased to meet you via Zoom presentation. In the summer of 2020, we celebrated the 100 years anniversary of the Salzburg Festival. I would like to tell you how we fight it with the threat of COVID pandemic. In May 2020, the Austrian Health Authority issued a decree that events with 1,000 visitors are possible in the summer if strict safety measures are installed. I would like to introduce this COVID concept of the Salzburg. Reduction of the number of spectators per performance. Reduction in the number of different scenic productions. Reduction of number of performances. Avoidance of breaks in performances. Avoidance of gastronomic service. Specific hygiene requirements. We had in 1 month 110 performances instead of 200 and 80,000 visitors instead of 240,000. The concept has been divided into 2 areas, the public area and the production area, with stage, cloakrooms, rehearsal rooms, and administration. We followed strictly the global valid recommendation, such as hand washing regularly, social distancing 1.5 to 2 meters, mouth and nose protection. And one special thing was our contact diary book, where all employees had to document the daily health status, such as fever, cough, taste, and olfactory disorders and limb pain, and people with persons contact more than 50 minutes in the last 24 hours had to document that in that book so that we could plan a very exact contact tracing. We have also divided the employees in the festival house into 3 groups, a red, orange, and yellow group. each person was given a corresponding color with an identity card. Prevention group red, actors, singers, dancers, studies, orchestra assistants, and so on. They were not able to wear a mask at their working. They had to fill in the contact diary book a daily basis and had to undergo PCR testing every week. Here you see our test station and me as a COVID hunter in full outfit. In the last summer, I was more a COVID hunter than a voice doctor and an occupational doctor. In the prevention group orange are the creative team, like employees of technology, costume and makeup persons, the artistic management, production management. They were in cooperation with people in the red group, where it was not always possible to adhere to the distance rule, but they have to wear a mouth and nose protection. The prevention group yellow were persons who works in the office or a secretary. They had contact the red and the orange group and were able to maintain the distance rule optimally of greater than 2 meters. Another important rule had our room ventilation system with special ventilation measures. This system were able to higher the amount of air twicely for the room. That means about 35 cubic meter per hour for every visitor. You see here our measures at the entrance: one-way mouth nose mask for the public service. You see here utensils like this disinfection spray, readers for the entrance card, gloves. You see here how the visitors have to show their photo identity at the entrance without being asked. Here you can see the access control appropriate with protective devices of our public service with shields and gloves. The face shields are not longer allowed in Austria now. Everywhere we had disinfection stands. They were attached in the entrance hall for the staff and for the visitors. The spectators have to wear the nose and mouth mask from entering the building to taking their seat and the start of the event, and after the end of the event until they have to leave the venue. Everywhere in our house there were special sittings arrangement which made sufficiently wide distance possible for the visitors. You can see here the big festival house, the Everyman shelter place, and the entrance hall. I would like to show now a brief insight in our performances. Here you can see a section from the Everyman shouting at the Domplatz in Salzburg. You hear the beginning scene with the Everyman shouters in that play. Please start the video. next performance, a short piece of performance of Mozart opera Cose fan tutte in the great festival house. Now you see one scene of the opera Elektra from Richard Strauss in the Felsenreitschule. Please start the video. Now, I would like to list once again the most important successful measures to fight against the COVID pandemic. Nose, mask, face mask, social distancing, more than 2 meters, hand washing, contact diary, contact tracing, PCR testing, and a quick COVID antigen testing. So we were able to decide everything ourselves in the house, and the government gives us the right to do that. Now you can see my waiting room for the patient in front of my office in the festival house, with many pictures of artists who have sung in the Salzburg festival before the COVID pandemic. And I long for them all to be able to come back again. We need the music, we need the art. Art and music are foods for our life, are very important. It's a very important food. Thank you very much.
So thank you, because we are dealing with this big problem, as everybody knows and everybody suffers that. So we have some time for discussion. I don't see Josef. I don't know if he's here. Josef, are you here? Or shall we make some comments? I would like to comment that now in Mexico, even though we have a lockdown since March, the lockdown was not in the same way as in Europe. For example, we closed, of course, theaters, restaurants, stores. I wanted to say Einkaufszentrum, but this is in German, I'm sorry. So stores, and of course, we were asked from the government to stay at home and only to make necessary things like, for example, the medical staff and some other cleannesses of the city and things like that. So now they are opening the theaters, even though Mexico has many COVID problems. We have enough hospitals, but we do not have all the people locked down at home because we don't have any compulsory lockdown like in Europe. So it's a big issue, and I'm going to talk about that with some theater producers, because we have to avoid the aerosol, as we know. We do need a huge ventilation system in the theaters, and of course in the way that we can separate the singers is not so easy. So if somebody wants to comment, because I think Josef is not over there, but there's no problem, because COVID, we have everything. So our dear Richard Dick is going to say us something. Please, Dick.
We did a study at the bioengineering department at Rice University in Houston and looked at the droplets and looked at the aerosols that come out of a singer's mouth and a flute player's mouth, and how it would affect the audience. And interestingly, 6 feet is plenty of distance for the large droplets. They all dropped out before 6 feet, but the small particles went up. And so the critical element is a good HEPA filter that filters these high areas over the stage that come back to the back of the stage. And so they're trying to affect that now and have a better filter system, because that's apparently the real risk in a theater.
Yes, yes, I think this is a great issue. And also, we were talking here with some engineers, and not only HEPA filters, but also if you have, for example, in musical theater, you have a steady ventilator with a very nice and comfortable but steady stream, then you can also help a lot. I don't know if somebody else has some experience in the theater's droplets or want to say something. Yes, please, Peter.
Hello to everybody. In Bavarian State Opera, we have all the same situation as in Salzburg at the festival, and we took almost the same regime as it had been done in Salzburg. In the great theaters, I think it's not the big problem because of the air condition, which comes for the air and the droplets to come above. But I think for the small theaters, and especially for the school rooms, in the classrooms in the schools, we have a great problem for the purification of the air and the so. There is a very recent study done in Frankfurt at the, I think it's the Department of Experimental Atmosphere and Climate, and they found that conventional air purifiers from Philips, for example, they are able to reduce the amount of aerosols to 1%, so they decrease from of 90% in half an hour. But nobody knows what happens in the filters. So I think it's a big problem, and to see how is the HEPA 13 or HEPA 14, which is much more expensive, of course, which is possible to also I think it's a social problem for the schools and for the public and for the small theaters and also for the gastronomic to have a good purification system in the rooms, which cannot be solved by, for example, how is it called, to open the windows and to clear the air inside. So my question would be to the audience: is there any study done worldwide, maybe in the US or anywhere else, which shows that air purifiers help us in this situation?
I have the experience that HEPA filter, as we know, helps a lot about the other pollens and the other bacteria and viruses. But I think we need still some time in order to try with the SARS-CoV-2, because as we know, the size is smaller than the filter, so it's not so easy. I don't know if somebody wants to make a small comment, the last one. Orietta, you want to say something, please?
Yes. Well, you know, in Italy, the first case of COVID was diagnosed on February 21, and since February 22nd, Schloemicher-Thier issued a medical protocol. And we were measuring temperatures of people coming in and out. And since then, we have a protocol which is now some 44 pages, distinguishing in group in red, and orange, and yellow. And every people was easy to use masks and obliged to observe things. But I think that the problem nowadays is awareness, arousal of risk perception, because it comes and go, and when it goes, people think it's over, and so they behave in a less protective way, and may do not well, they do respect rules when they are on stage, when they are in rehearsals, but maybe coming upstairs, they are warming up their voices, or out of the theater with selfies and autographs. And so this, there are always small 5 minutes period which may let the virus in. And when it's in, it's difficult to get it out.
Yes,
We are planning again, but the first thing is make people cope, make people get the risk. Unfortunately, now many, not so many, but those of us that are ill are coping, are understanding that, and the other are afraid of. But I'm afraid myself that if we do not succeed in getting artists understand and behave themselves and be careful with themselves, we will have a third wave, a fourth wave, and so, because as soon as in population it rises, artists go down.
Yes, yes, we think the same as you, and of course the medical group and the scientific group has to explain to the artistic group what kind of things can we do in order to avoid what you say, the third and the fourth wave. Because I understand perfectly, and we all do as CoMeT members, that all the artists need to work, but on the other side, they need to help in order to avoid so many waves. So it's a balance that it is not so easy, because we don't have any help from medicines or vaccine. So we have to make this kind of education and talks to the artistic group, and also to make the governments a little bit more taking care of the funds that they can do to the artist group. So thank you very much for the comments, and we keep on with our program. And well, it is an honor for me to welcome, of course we know from so many years, our dear Richard Stasny from Houston. As you know, he was voted and proposed from all of you to become honorary member 2019. And as you may know, he studied in Yale University in New Haven. In Baylor, Houston, he completed his general surgery residency in otolaryngology, head and neck surgery. And he's a wonderful laryngologist and a founding director of the Texas Voice Center. With his group, it's a wonderful center. He's clinical professor of otolaryngology in many of our very important institutions in Texas: the Weill Cornell Medical College, the University of Texas, Health Science Center of Texas, College of Medicine, and Baylor College of Medicine, among many others. And of course, he has a lot of publications also, let's say about many publications in journals and international journals, and also he was elected deputy chief of otolaryngology and head a neck surgery service at the Methodist Hospital. Until now, dear Dick, it's wonderful. We visited, as we know, Houston in the Methodist Hospital, and it was really great. And of course, the deputy of Stasny, Dick, is wonderful. He's also adjunct professor of performing arts medicine at the Rice University, otolaryngologist and physician for the Houston Grand Opera, as he already made a very important comment. And he's chairman of the Center for Performing Arts Medicine, and the chair is endowed to him at the Methodist Hospital in Houston. His medical clinic at Covenant House, Texas, is also named by Richard Stasny and his honor. And also, as we know, he has many different awards, and now is CoMeT honorary member from Houston Association of Communication Disorders, from the Association of Operating Rooms as Distinguished Surgeon. He has certificate of honor from the American Academy of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery. He has served for 6 years on the Texas State Board of Medical Examiners and Hall of Fame in Baylor College of Medicine, Department of Otolaryngology, Head and Neck Surgery in 2010. And as we know, he has hosted also CoMeT meetings, not only in Houston, the last one, but also in Aspen in Santa Fe. He has a Lifetime Achievement Award from Houston Methodist Hospital. America's top doctors. In CoMeT, we have wonderful top doctors from all over the world, and we love Richard Stasny. The best doctor in America, he also has this award. Texas Super Doctors, America's top physicians, best doctors in Texas, and many, many other awards. So we have the honor to say hello to his lovely wife, to his wonderful group, and mainly he is an honorary member of Collegium Medicorum Theatri. We embrace you, dear Dick, and thank you for being with us.
Bless your heart, Eugenia. I mean, I've gone from being who's who to who's he because I'm retired now, but it was fun while I was active. And a part of Hans van Leyden lives on in my office in the Texas Voice Center. I acquired a big 6x4 foot oil painted in 1690 of Saint Blaise, who's the patron saint of throats, from Hans van Leyden. And it's hanging in the Texas Voice Center in Houston. It's one of my most prized possessions, and it's there right in the middle of the Texas Voice Center. So St. Blaise is taking care of throats along with the 2 great laryngologists that we have and 3 speech pathologists. Interestingly, one is they're all opera singers. One's a soprano, one's a mezzo, and one's a tenor. So we've got music all around, and Yin Yu, who's the new laryngologist with a pudithectomy in the office, plays a piano. So they've got music right there in-house. Thank you. And thank everybody from CoMeT.
Thank you very much. And now we shall make our special tribute to Professor Oskar Schindler. Antonio Schindler, his dear son and our beloved CoMeT member, we were speaking about making this humble tribute. And well, we asked some of our CoMeT members that were very close to Oskar to give some words. Let's see the videos that everybody sent to us. Carissima Familia Schindler, dear CoMeT friends from all over the world, dear guests. This humble tribute from Collegium Medicorum Theatri to one of the dearest members, Professor Dr. Oskar Schindler, is made with our love and acknowledgement. The background from our dear Oskar is Turin, Italy. Oskar was cum laude in the Turin Medical School. He loved the human communication, and he had clear that through the different languages that he spoke, the communication had a higher level. He studied all the details of human communication, setting the bridge between the dysfunction of the primitive function like dysphagia with the voice production and the language structures. His knowledge about the European phoniatrical tradition and his experience in clinical and surgical issues made him one of the founders of the Union of European Phoniatricians. He showed a strong personality, and his diplomacy made possible to avoid some of the organization problems in the last years. In 1990, as the president of the Union of European Phoniatricians, and 2005 as the president of the Italian Society for Logopedics and Phoniatrics, he showed his leadership with kindness and serenity. His legacy builds a pathway for continuing all over the world the phoniatrics and audiology enrichment. His presence, as you see in these wonderful pictures taken in CoMeT meeting in Mexico 2009, was notorious, and his charisma was unforgettable. His family, with his fantastic wife Bianca, that you see also in these pictures, and their sons Antonio and Giovanni, was a complete sample of human greatness. I remember you, dear Oscar, admiring Teotihuacan, sharing with us the Maya culture and the Aztec culture, and all the things that we made together in our scientific, cultural, and social meeting in Mexico City in 2009. I thank all the great CoMeT members who share their thoughts after me about our great Oscar. Thank you very much also for the inspiring letters that Professor Jürgen Wendler and Professor Nasser Kotbi wrote for the Union of European Phoniatricians, where we belong also. Oscar, a friend, a teacher, researcher, clinician, all the activities from a wonderful human being. Bravissimo, Oscar. We shall miss you, but we shall remember you. All the experience and knowledge and friendship that you share with us. We thank you for your nobility. Collegium Medicorum Theatri family never forgets you and embraces you. Rest in peace. And I give the word to my other colleagues in order to hear their thoughts.
Dear friends, I came to know this distinguished Italian phoniatrician, Professor Oskar Schindler, since the mid-1970s. At that time, phoniatricians were very few. I found in him a reliable support professionally and an honest comrade as a sincere friend. I came to know the Schindler family so closely. Oskar turned to be undoubtedly a brother. Bianca, his wife, became my sister, and automatically I became the loving uncle to both Antonio and Giovanni. Oskar has been a landmark in the profession of phoniatrics. He carried valiantly the academic duties of phoniatrics in the University of Turin. Professor Schindler was a prolific writer and author. He produced practically a full library of references in our field of phoniatrics. He was also a great collector of books. Oskar just loved those tools of wisdom. He cared for his big and distinguished library as a father would care for his kids. Oskar Schindler was a founding member of the European Union of Phoniatricians in 1971. He devoted his life supporting that union. I still remember two major world congresses in Turin that Oskar has arranged. Those were the annual meeting of the Collegium Otorhinolaryngologum Amicitia Sacrum in 1987 and the Triennial World Congress of ILP in 2013. I'm sure that all the friends of Professor Oskar Schindler worldwide shall miss him for many years to come. We shall miss in Professor Oskar Schindler, a distinguished academician, a kind teacher, and a noble character. And I shall miss in Oskar the loving brother and the admirable role he played in his family as a caring husband, father, and grandfather.
In our life, we meet very few people who respond to aspirations or that we carry within us unexpressed. In them, we recognize their leading role as teachers and friends. These were certainly, for me, Oskar Schindler, whom I met at the beginning of my professional adventure in the late 80s, and with whom I spent a summer in Philadelphia in search of the world of the artistic voice at the Voice Foundation in the early 90s. I remember the many times that in Ravenna we organized courses for him for the hospital speech therapists, and his constant encouragement to fill in the gap of those years, asking me to give strength and structure to the artistic voice therapy, in which he recognized my passion. From the American experience was born in '92 my first text on dysphonies, of which Oskar wanted to make the introduction, and in '94 my first book on vocal art. Then in '99 I gave birth with him to the first conference of the artistic voice in Ravenna. Flashes of meetings, reunions, lectures passed before my eyes, along with the exchanges of ideas, dinners, and walks. Now that we will no longer be able to meet him, the sense of gratitude remains within me for having illuminated my human and professional path, helping me to feel fulfilled in choices that are not always easy, but in which my passion for the voice found meaning and truth.
La prima parola è quella di ringraziamento per Franco Fussi per avermi invitato, ma il ringraziamento più grande è quello di aver voluto e aver creduto nel fare questa serie di congressi probabilmente su tutto il territorio di ordine mondiale. Molto probabilmente non esistono o non esistevano più di una cinquantina di persone esperte nell'argomento. Fra l'altro in Italia anche le persone si contavano, adopero l'imperfetto e vedremo poi perché, forse non più di 5 persone che si intendessero dell'argomento. Adesso siamo rimasti probabilmente a malapena in uno, di cui sicuramente la persona più importante è rappresentata proprio da Franco Fussi, che è il riferimento vero per appunto queste cose. Cosa si intende per fognatria artistica?
We could see him from a distance and immediately notice his beauty and his attitude. The upper back slightly leaning forward, attentive to his interlocutor. Then when you get closer and he turns his head to look at you, despite the big glasses that shrink his eyes, he immediately puts you in confidence. Oskar was a man who loved the relationship with others. He knew how to look with the heart and not only with the eyes. Then you would hear him speak with each other in Italian, German, English, French, Spanish, and other languages. He didn't just love people, he respects their difference. And behind their language, he embraced their culture. Oskar has this love of humanity in his entirety. When he spoke in public, it was always with conviction and desire to share knowledge, experience, and the innovative ideas that flow from it. Desire to share that one finds of his great ability to write, to convey his ideas. Oscar was a great educator, a man of science. He left us all his books as a legacy. I knew him when the UP was debating his identity, when the European Group of Dysphagia and Globus brought together people coming from very different backgrounds. Decisions were not easy to take and not always followed. Oscar was a committed man who assumed his ideas. I see him sitting in my garden in Toulouse with all our friends and colleagues from the last Congress of European Group on Dysphagia and Globus. I see him again in the gala dinners of our society. I see him again in small Italian restaurants with his team when he invited me to participate to the Master of Swallowing in Torino. Oscar was a friend. That's why I will retain the best of him. One day, his son Antonio sent to me, I was his mother of phoniatrics. I told him no, I was his big sister, because Oscar was in phoniatrics, one of my fathers. For all this reason, he will remind my heart, and for many of us in our memory. Thank you very much for all you do, Oscar. Ciao.
Thanks, Eugenia, for giving me this opportunity to speak on Professor Schindler. And my name is Ahmed Gnaid. I'm working in Helsinki, Finland, the head of the phoniatrics department. I'm an ENT and a phoniatrician. And actually, it is a little bit harsh for me to speak on Professor Schindler. He was one of the 4 founders of the union that I'm currently working as his president, Union of the European Phoniatricians. His legacy is wonderful. He was someone that was always able to be friends with all of the colleagues that we have. I remember the wonderful times that we had back in Turin a few years ago when he organized one of the congresses over there. And it's amazing that when he worked as the secretary of the organization of the union, when it was established back in 1971, he was someone who was able to deal with different representatives and different colleagues from different countries, based on the fact that his language abilities were wonderful. He was speaking English, German, Italian, and Japanese and French. So and Greek, and this made him the best one to be the founder of our organization. Luckily, right now we have his son with us in the UAB, Antonio Schindler, who is carrying out the legacy of his father. Antonio is an ENT and phoniatrician working in Italy, and I guess the legacy that Professor Oscar left with us is that we will much enjoy remembering the wonderful times we had with him, and we will aim, and hopefully as soon as this pandemic is over, to meet each other again and to enjoy the friendly atmosphere that he started back many years ago, that is continued by different colleagues interested in voice from all around the world. And I hope that we will be able all to meet again after this pandemic physically and share wonderful moments that will remind us of the wonderful legacy of our colleague, Professor Schindler.
our dear friend, Professor Philippe de Joncker, he will speak about his thoughts about our Oskar Schindler. Please, Philippe.
Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Dear CoMeT friends, and especially dear Antonio, let me remember also that Oskar organized in '96 a very successful CoMeT Congress in Salsomaggiore, a nice spa town in northern Italy. Austin King, if he's listening to us, certainly will remember too, as it's there that he was elected president. I myself particularly remember an anecdote about the social program of that Congress. On an afternoon, Oskar had put us in a bus that brought us to Busseto, at about 30 kilometers, where is located the Villa Verdi, Verdi's residence, and also not far from there, Verdi Theater. Oskar, who was a great music lover, wanted to make us visit it. However, when the bus arrived, there was an unpleasant surprise. Everything was closed. Oskar hadn't noticed that it was the closing day. Of course, we were disappointed, but Oskar, who obviously was a great Verdi connoisseur, succeeded in consoling us in a very humoristic way and fully restoring the atmosphere by telling us a funny anecdote explaining how actually Verdi himself never had set foot in that theater, although he had paid for the construction. And so everybody was again happy, and the day after we were offered a magnificent Aida performance in the arena of Verona. Thank you, Oskar. You are unforgettable.
Thank you very much. And well, a big applause from me, because I don't know if everybody can open the microphones and say a big applause to our dear Oskar Schindler. And our dear love and all the greetings for Bianca, and Antonio is here if he wants to say hello. If not, dear Antonio.
Well, it's the first time that I speak about my father after he passed away. So I thank you all for all the nice words. I thank you that you commemorated all what he did. And I just want to remember that he once told me when he became a CoMeT member, and he said, well, it was not easy because you need to pass an exam. And Minoru Irano was the examiner. So when I first attended the CoMeT Congress, I felt very lucky. So this is just one of the things that he told me, and I just want to thank you all for what you did, and thank you.
We love you, dear Antonio. Well, this is a lot of emotions that we are thinking about a great human being. And of course, he was contributing, as everybody knows and said and perhaps shared, with the development of our Collegium Medicorum Theatri family. So as closing remarks, I thank you very much to be here with you. And thank you for your time. Thank you for your patience. And of course, we are having an open Zoom without any recording. If you want to stay and chat a little bit, you are very welcome. I stay until you say. And I remember you, we are having activities online. Our third online session will be 12th of December. And we are having 3 wonderful ladies. One is our Orietta Calcinoni. The other one is Isabel Garcia and Filipa La. Well, it happens like that. And we are organizing for next year our activities online. So please stay healthy. And I think we have to make a lot of things as Collegium Medicorum Theatri family, making research about masks, about voice, artistic voice, what is going to happen with the artistic voice groups. So I thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. And who wants to stay is very welcome to stay. And many dear greetings from Mexico. Don't forget, I stay with you.
Bye, Erennio.
Yes.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Ah, Virgin, nice to see you.
Bye-bye, Eugenia.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Salut,
Virginie.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Georgina, nice to see you. And this is really very nice to see all the friends' faces. And I am very glad, Sten, you could come today with us.